Hey, Crystal Maiden here, and now we're heading to Skeleton Forest. A lot of people call it Skull Woods, but Skull Woods is the name of the dungeon. And these guys can steal your shield. They act like thieves, but they can steal. If they hit you with their tongue, they can steal rupees and bombs and arrows, and they can steal your shield. But they can't steal your golden shield, at least not in the Super Nintendo version. Oh, I hate it when that happens. I clearly hit him with the rice rod, but it just went through him. I think there's a delay between when it gets frozen, or something like that. Yeah, these guys are a lot more annoying than in Zelda 1 because they drop randomly from the ceiling. And if you don't kill them when they land on you, then they're gonna send you all the way back to the entrance of the dungeon. I hate how slowly you pull things. It makes that puzzle kind of tedious. Yeah, this is the best way to deal with the mummies. These things turn you into a bunny, but just like anti-fairies, you can turn them into a fairy. Of course, there are some versions of these that they start out already going at you or something, and once they start, the ones in Thieves Town are pretty much impossible to turn into a fairy. One thing I haven't mentioned about the bees yet is that in A Link Between Worlds, you can actually give them to this bee collecting guy, and he's dressed up like a bumblebee, and he speaks in bee puns, and I always imagine his dialogue to be spoken in a really screechy and annoying voice, so I find him really annoying. But anyways, you give the bee to this bee collecting guy, and you can get 50 rupees from them. And this encourages you to catch bees. In this game, there's really no reason to. Yeah, I never liked the green mask enemies because when you hit their mask, then it knocks them back, but it doesn't hurt them. I like doing that. It's just moving around in circles around nothing. You'd expect it to fly off and start moving around the walls or something. This is a pretty cool concept. You pull the lever and it explodes the wall. Why do these enemies have to come back? I hate them. And the star switches from Tower of Hero also come back. They don't play nearly as prominent a role though. The fire rod can actually one hit kill the annoying red enemies, which is good. I don't show it off. I'll show it off in an extra video. The annoying thing about the red and blue enemies, the jellyfish, is that when you attack them when they're electrified, they shock you. And the red ones split into small ones, and they also shock you. So you gotta be careful. But the smaller ones are a lot easier. They're a lot harder to hit. That spinning fire thing is kind of annoying to dodge when there's so many pits all over the place. And this isn't the first time that you're going to get a compass and it's going to create a whole bunch of pits everywhere. I mean, how does it make sense that getting the compass causes the floor to collapse? Yeah, you need to be pretty precise with the ice rod to hit him. A Link Between Worlds has the ice rod create a much larger amount of ice. This one just creates a bunch of ice that just goes in front of you in a straight line, so it can be hard to aim with it. Something I haven't mentioned yet is the Game Genie. When I was using it, I like to use a code that I already got that bottle. Wow, that hit was useless. You'd think there'd be programming in mind to tell him to stop saying something once it stops being useful. But anyways, I like to use a Game Genie code to change all of the colors. Yeah, if you bounce between those two bumpers for long enough, but not too long, then you'll activate a screen scrolling glitch. And it's basically the primitive prototype of the walk-through walls glitch, the first version of it they ever discovered. And it really sucks because you're never on the screen that the camera shows you to be on, so the obstacles you're dealing with aren't the ones you're actually dealing with. And it takes like over a minute to bounce between those bumpers long enough. So it really don't use the bumpers for that purpose. And you've also got to charge up a spin dash to make sure that the wall masters don't hurt you, that don't bother you when you're bouncing between them. I love the fact that the magic mirror can warp you to the beginning of the dungeon. Yeah, this is a good way to cheese past this section. It would have taken longer to get out of it otherwise. Freeze and smash the mummies here because they'll just get in your way. This is a timed puzzle. You got to light all the torches in time. And I recommend that you use the fire rod as much as possible. I mean, don't worry about wasting magic because you're going to get a lot of magic here from the ice rod. Why do they spell ice rod without a space between it? Ah, the Super Nintendo days. I think that gets fixed later on. Anyways, the Game Genie code I used to change the colors of the overworld doesn't work anymore. Like, now it just makes everything a red tint, and I don't know what caused that. I missed that code. I really liked how it made the overworld look. There's something really appealing about playing the game with different colors. I hate this boss. I mean, it's got a moving floor and traps everywhere. And yep, this is a cool new use that you can do with the good bee. You thought it was done yet? But look, it's attacking it, and before it was attacking it and it wasn't dealing any damage. That's something I really, and look, that the fire didn't deal any damage twice. That's something I really hate about this boss, is that randomly it'll decide to be immune to attacks. And there's no visual indicator of when it's invincible and when it isn't. The traps are always moving at you in unpredictable directions. And it shoots projectiles at you. So you have to walk around really carefully on the conveyor belts to avoid being sent into stuff. I hate this boss. The good bee doesn't deal too much damage, mostly because of the stupid invincibility thing, but it's still a nice help. It helps you save on magic. So I like using it. It's also pretty funny how you can take advantage of an Easter egg and get a bee to attack a butterfly. Like, you wouldn't expect it to be that helpful. Oh wow, another exposition fairy. They all say the exact same thing for the first two lines. Yes, I know about the Great Cataclysm. Oh, really? When the bad guy wins, then nobody can stop him? Really? I never knew that. That was utterly pointless. And don't choose not at all, or they'll repeat all of their annoying dialogue all over again. And the text rolls by so slowly. The Lost Woods doesn't change that much between you beating Ganon. It loses its fog after you collect the Master Sword, and I guess I kind of missed that. And it also loses its distinctive theme, which I really hate, because I like it when different areas have their own distinctive themes. I don't think the theme should just be associated with the fog. I'm not really sure what the point of the fog was, though. I mean, was it to make it easier to get lost in the woods? But the woods doesn't seem to be very easy to get lost in. Just wanted to show you what was here. It's utterly pointless coming here. In A Link Between Worlds, the Lost Woods is extremely annoying because you have to... There are these annoying ghosts, and you have to... They move in a circle, and you have to follow the one that they told you to follow. And that one goes into a log. And the second time around, there are two ghosts, and you're told to not go in the direction that each of them goes. And the third time, which is the most unintuitive of all, the third time you have to go back the way you came to progress. I hated that section of the game so much. Like, it was the most frustrating part of the game for me at that point. I didn't mean to warp here. Don't you just hate it when that happens? I like it how the shopkeeper heals you when you talk to him. And again, I'm doing a lot of editing for this because a lot of the game is just going through areas you already did. It's not as bad as in Bravely Default though, where apparently you have to redo a lot of the game towards the end. Like refight all the same bosses or something like that. And it really sucks. If you don't have the Master Sword, then you're not going to get the item from these things. I found out that the hard way. And here's the Bombus Medallion. It'll come in handy later. It's a screen nuke, basically. You don't really need to use it. I think it seems like an item that's too powerful to use and you'll never bother with using it. But actually, there are select portions of the game where it's useful to use it. The medallions, I mean. So I like how the medallions aren't just items that you're never going to use because they're too powerful and you don't need them and you want to save them. They use up a lot of magic, but if you met the bat, then it helps the amount of... Yeah, it's kind of hard to freeze these guys because they move around so fast. But it's pretty satisfying when you finally do. I think freezing and smashing them is the only way to kill them. I didn't know you could kill them on my first couple playthroughs of the game. And these guys are annoying because they move pretty far. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Getting the bat to curse you halves the amount of magic that you lose from using magical items. Which is weird because he talks about it as if the curse is a bad thing. And I don't really buy that when you use a magical spell, it can have completely unintended consequences from what you imagined it to have. At least in that particular circumstance. I mean, you'd think it would work like he would imagine the curse doing a specific thing, and so it would do that specific thing. It seems like a pretty hard thing to screw up. I don't know. Like, I just prefer it when magic is portrayed to make sense, to have its own system of rules that it follows, and it makes sense. I like it when they focus on how exactly magic would work, like it manipulates the atoms of the universe to do certain things, as opposed to you just say a magic word, because magic can apparently understand what you're saying somehow. and then stuff happens. Like, if magic can understand what you're saying, that means it's sentient, even though it doesn't have eyes or a mouth or hands, so it can't really do anything to entertain itself, and you think that it would go insane as a result. I don't really like this dungeon because, again, you move so slowly when you're in the shallow water, and even when you use the Pegasus boots, you don't move all that fast. There's also a lot of backtracking here. I mean, I think this might be the most backtracky dungeon in the game. I'm not quite sure about that, though. Those blocks can't be pushed for some stupid reason, which goes against all of your Zelda instincts. Instead, you have to collect that key, go all the way back here, and then push that lever to make the water go out and fill up the area. A concept I like. Like, it's not incredibly confusing like the water temple Ocarina of Time, because it's not in 3D or something. And then you actually have to hit the crystal switch, because otherwise you have to hit the crystal switch in order to progress. So you have to backtrack even further. Yeah. It's really easy to freeze this guy here because it's a very narrow passageway. Most of the waterfalls in this game don't give you treasure, which goes against all of your gaming instincts and kind of discourages you from going to any waterfall at all. Which sucks because there are a few waterfalls that you really should go into. And I hate this room. It's so easy to get hit here, and you move so slowly. You move slowly and all the hazards move quickly, so it feels really cheap. And yay, more backtracking! I had to backtrack all the way back here in order to get the next chest. And then after getting the next chest, oh, I like how you can break jars and stuff with the hammer. That's pretty cool. After getting this, you have to go all the way back to this room. Yeah, that's fun. Why is hookshot spelled with space in it? That's kind of early installment weirdness. And I think the text box was a little too gimmicky and it was a little too trying too hard to be energetic. Like, it says boing and stuff, but I like this item. I like how it extends so far and it can bring you over to certain jars and treasure chests. And it can bring you not just across pits, but also if you're in a higher route, it can bring you to the next section of the higher route. And there are also enemies that the hookshot will one-shot. So, like the annoying water bug enemies that constantly slide around are one-shotted by the hookshot. So, this is a pretty useful weapon. I mean, most of the time it just stuns enemies, but certain enemies will get one-shotted by it. Like that! That's pretty awesome. The boomerang, whenever it doesn't stun an enemy, it just deals a very tiny amount of damage. Sometimes when you hookshot a heart, you'll get more hearts than normal. I don't know if that's a glitch or an Easter egg, but either way it's awesome. This room is pretty pointless. And I think I might have wasted my time coming here. I think that if you go into the room to the right of it, which is mandatory to progress, then you're going to... I never knew about this chest from my first couple playthroughs. I think it was the last chest that I ever got in this game. But anyways, I think that if you go into this room, then they'll mark the room to the left of it as having been visited on your map. But I'm not entirely sure about that. Those bean things jump out. And here is the cheapest part of the game. It's so... that is the only time that I've ever avoided getting hit by those guys. Most of the time, they crowd around the staircase that you jump out of, and you're guaranteed to get hit by them. I was very lucky that I somehow managed to avoid them. That is incredibly cheap. And you can't really I'm pretty sure they're immune to bombos, but I haven't really tested that out for a while. If you're beating this boss with just the hammer and the level 1 sword, it's incredibly annoying because you can't attack these guys with the level 1 sword, so you have to constantly use the hookshot, then open up your item menu, and then use the hammer, and then open up your item menu again, and then use the hookshot, and it's incredibly tedious and annoying. He's always guaranteed to try to land on top of you, so it's easy to predict where he's going to land. Don't let him start moving around and bouncing off the walls, because that can be annoying. He'll jump up into the ceiling on his own after a while, I think. I don't quite remember though. Some of the Crystal Maidens are blonde and some of them have brown hair. And the weird thing is, I don't think I remember that correctly, but I think there aren't any. I think in the ending credits, none of them are blonde for some bizarre reason. I guess they dyed their hair in celebration of Link winning. Actually, do people remember the events of this game after all the deaths and stuff were undone? That's never really explained. Yes, I know. The only thing that she taught me was that Ganon was called Ganondorf. The manual actually calls him Ganondorf Dragmire. Yep, this is the first game to have him be called that, not Ocarina of Time. See you in the next part.